Hey, what's up, guys? On today's episode, we go over UFC 228. We'll talk a little bit about the previous fight night. So we skipped over that week because we were moving. And we'll even talk about the Extreme KO fights that are coming up on September 29th. Tickets are on sale now. Check them out at extremeknockout.com. If you can't make it to the fights, you can always check them out at xko.tv. They have all the highlights.
They're here.
Welcome to the Hook J Podcast.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
When it's all said and done, I know one thing that I can do. I can fight. I can give it, and I can take it.
You should have left me over on that other game that I'm from, that more ruthless game where we bounce heads off the canvas and drill them into the floor. You should have left me where I was.
The show starts now.
Alright, so we're going to talk about the previous fight night, which had a really good ending.
Yep.
Really good ending.
The three big ones that I remember, one was Eric Anders, where he head kicked Tim Williams into oblivion. It was the closest thing we got to a soccer kick since Pride, because that was almost at the end of the fight. It was in the third round.
Yeah, it was. Tim Williams did a good job of standing up against Eric Anders, who has a really good stand-up game, and Tim Williams couldn't capitalize on any of his real good groundwork that he usually has.
Anders,
my God,
rocked him, and when he was getting up off canvas, he hauled off, and he timed it perfectly for it. Was a legal soccer kick, essentially.
Yeah, it was good that Anders timed that when he did.
Yeah, timed it perfectly.
It was close.
And just basically took his head clean off. It was pretty rough. And then we had the main event with Justin Gaethji and the hometown hero James Vick. James Vick got knocked out within the first round.
Oh, it was in the first round, and it was spectacular.
It's one of those things you can't count Gaethji out regardless of...
Which, ironically, up to the knockout, Vick was doing a really good job. He was piecing up Gaethji. He was landing his shots from range. He was utilizing his length really well. And then Gaethji just got into the pocket, and he landed it had to be, it obviously was a perfect shot, but that had to be one of the hardest perfect shots in the world, the way Vick collapsed the way he did. There was no need for the follow-up. It was that hard.
It was I don't think it was the hard. I think it was the precision of where it landed.
Good Lord, it was just right on the fucking turn-off button.
Yeah, definitely. Besides that, we had the retirement of Jake Ellenberg. Basically called it quits after he lost. It was a TKO loss. He decided he's going to move on. And I think he left his gloves in the octagon.
Yeah, he left him in the octagon, but one of his teammates picked him up. So
they got more fights. They can't just leave it in the...
Yeah. I get that.
But
yeah, he's done.
Yeah, he finally called it quits. I think he had over 30 fights or so. He had a lot of fights. We even talked about it in the last one. It's like he's been in there for a while. What was the other one? The one that everyone talked about?
I think it was the Sandhagen one. I think that was...
Sandhagen. That's his name. He had, his nose split open and everything, and he was basically dead for most of it was a good comeback, if I'm remembering.
Yeah,
right.
he got knocked down, and Alcantara pounced on him and was beating him up pretty well, but he got out of it, came back, and then ends up TKOing the other guy. So yeah, that was a really good showing by Sandhagen on that one.
Yeah, that was it was a pretty good fight night.
Yeah, that one was actually one of the first fight nights I've seen in a while that I was thoroughly impressed with what happened in it.
Well, the good thing is after this one, the next fight night is Mark Hunt.
Cheers. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah. But first, we got UFC 228.
Yeah, so UFC 228 is in DFW.
Yeah.
Local. I think it's why we got a lot of these Dallas boys showing up.
Probably.
Obviously, I would think. Get some of the hometown crowd involved. Fight Pass card has got 5 fights on it. Nothing too spectacular on it, but we do have a hometown guy on it. The first fight on the early prelims, we'll see Roberto Sanchez, Little Fury, versus Jared the Monkey God Brooks, who's coming in for an injured Ryan Benoit, who was the local guy.
Yeah, it's unclear what his injury is at this point that we're recording, but it had to be pretty significant for him to call it quit. It was bad to see him because I actually like watching Ryan fight. He's an interesting guy to watch. He's got a pretty decent record too. He fought out in Extreme Knockout prior to the UFC, so it's pretty fun. I've seen a couple of his fights through XKO TV on the highlights. It's worth the watch.
I haven't seen any of Ryan's fights, but I do recall watching Roberto pick up his previous win, and I remember being impressed because that was a first-round submission, and he sunk in a rear naked choke with 2 minutes left in the round. So the guy's got one hell of a ground game, and I look for that to continue here. I don't know enough about Jared Brooks, the stand-in for Ryan, to really give you any information on him. This should be a good fight. Second fight on the early prelims is going to be Jeff Hands of Steel Neal
and Frank the Crank Camacho, which is a great name all around. Frank's a manly name. The Crank, that's a good one to go after. Usually it's like the Tank or whatever.
I'm kind of looking forward to this one because Jeff Neal, he is a local guy. He fights out of Dallas. I'm more interested in what Frank's going to do, to be honest with you. Frank is coming off a decision loss to Drew Dober, one of the chins from last week. He lost to a unanimous decision to that guy, Drew Dober. And Jeff is coming off a first-round submission win over Brian Camozzi via rear naked choke in the first. So Frank's won 6 of his last 9 fights with 13 first-round finishes. And that's rather impressive.
Frank's record is 21-6. And Jeff's got one that's 9-2. I think they're putting Jeff against a vet of the sport, try to put him out there a little bit more, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he's younger too. Jeff Neal has won 7 of his last 8 fights, 5 by TKO and 2 by submission. Yeah, so he's got power. So I can't wait to see if this is actually going to go the distance.
He's got a couple inches reach on him too.
Yeah, he's a much taller guy.
Camacho has a lot more strikes absorbed per minute. So
exactly.
I'm not saying he's a punching bag, but according to this, he's got a little bit more absorption. Maybe it's just the amount of times he's been in the cage.
Jeff Neal has actually made a pass through Dallas's own XKO that we've mentioned several times here. He did suffer a loss to the recent UFC newcomer who we have talked about, Kevin Holland. But out of the 3 fights he has there, he lost that one via TKO, but he's got 2 wins via submission and decision. So another XKO talent right there that's made its way to the UFC.
There's a lot of
from another local promotion. Yeah, which is always good to see. Texas has got a little bit of a push in here.
Yeah,
XKO might actually have some really good talent. Can't wait to go to this next show.
Well, they have good talent if you just watch the highlights on
but that's the highlights.
TV.
That's the highlights. I want to see the full fight. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to lay these names out. I can give you a little bit of stats, but I don't know anything about these 2 ladies. And it's not really their fault. It's just I do not remember them. The 2 ladies we're going to be watching here is going to be Irene Aldana versus Lucy Pudilova. So Irene's coming off unanimous decision win, and Lucy is coming off 2 consecutive wins, both via unanimous decision. So again, I can't really say much on these 2 because I have no recollection of their fights.
See, Irene is sitting at an 8-4 record, and
Lucy
is sitting at 8-2. So it's fairly similar records, Irene's got more of a KO percentage than Lucy, but I mean, you look at the stats, virtually identical as
stats are stats though, so
say.
We can lay out numbers, but any given Sunday, right?
Game of inches.
Yeah. So I really ain't got nothing for you on that one, unless you got anything.
No.
All right, let's just mull that one over. Sorry, ladies.
This one's actually kind of cool.
This is one I'm actually interested in seeing.
The UFC vet Jim Miller versus Alex the Spartan White. Alex is an up-and-comer, I believe, right? I haven't seen too much of him. And Jim Miller's been in the UFC for, I'm guessing, like 90 years.
All right, so I'm going to get to that in just a second. Jim Miller, in particular, has lost 4 fights in a row. Okay? But
He's a fan favorite.
yeah, but here's the thing. I'm going to lay out the people he lost to, and you're going to see exactly why he lost. All right? Okay? Even if you don't have...
I'm assuming from the way you're building it up, it's all like high caliber
Well,
fighters,
here's
right?
the thing.
It's not like CM Punk.
No,
grocery store
we're not
clerk.
looking at like the guys just fresh onto the roster, okay?
Yeah.
His last 4 fights, those losses come from Dan Hooker,
Okay.
who is on his rise right now.
Yeah.
And that dude is tough, and he's rather impressive to watch. Francisco Trinaldo, who is a heavy hitter. Anthony Pettis, the former champ, and still in the top 5, top 10 easy. And Dustin Poirier, who's currently making his run for the title shot right now. So the last 4 people he's fought and lost to is top tier talent.
Yeah.
So it's no fault to Jim Miller. He's on a 4-fight losing streak. He's just fighting the best of the best right now.
Well, yeah, there's a reason.
top of the stack.
There's a reason he's been in the UFC for that long, and it's not because we just feel sorry for him. Like he's got talent. It's just you put him against
Yeah, they're
some
putting
rough people.
3 of the last 4 guys that I just named are all in the top 15. So
Yeah.
he is fighting top tier talent, and it's again his losses aren't. Yeah, they're on him because they're his losses. He's not winning, but he's fighting the best. Miller's is actually very impressive to me because when I went back and I looked him up, his resume of who he's fought is impressive. So he has actually went in there and fought with the greats.
Like I know there was Gray Maynard. I remember that one.
Gray Maynard,
Frankie Edgar. There was a Diaz fight in there.
There's the Diaz fight. Yeah, Nate
Did
Diaz.
Joe Lozon fight
He
him?
fought Joe Lozon.
Yeah.
He's
That's
got-
the ones I remember.
He's got Donald Cerrone and
Cerrone.
Vincent Henderson too.
Oh, okay.
He's fought the top of the stack.
Yeah, he's always been in the running.
So-
or he's either been in the top 10 or he's been like on the edge of it.
Yeah, so Jim Miller is going in there with 28-11, but his losses come from and his wins are over. Like he's fought everybody.
Yeah.
At this point, I hope he's not in there just to make a paycheck. I hope he's got other stuff going on.
I imagine he still
Or-
likes to do it, otherwise
Yeah.
he wouldn't be in there. Like some people do it for the check, but I think Jim Miller's the type of guy that's like he's there to fight because he likes to do it.
Right. Well, I can't say much about Alex the Spartan White that he's fighting. The guy's got a 3-4 in the UFC, and I honestly feel like the UFC's kind of throwing him a bone here,
Probably.
giving him a guy who's on a 4-loss streak to help him pad his record, maybe.
I think Miller's been in there for a while. Maybe they're thinking he might retire like Ellenberg here pretty soon. It seems like from the stats you gave me, these 3 and 4. You said
Yeah, Alex White is 3-4.
there might just be
In
like,
the
all right,
UFC.
well, if Miller's still fighting, we might as well give him somebody that maybe can make a name. A notable person if he wins.
I kind of think that's just kind of a throwaway fight, to be honest.
Well, like
for either one of
I
them.
like Jim Miller, so I'll watch it. If it was anything exciting happens in it, it's cool. But I like Jim Miller. UFC Fight Pass early prelims.
It'll just be the UFC. Just call it the Fight Pass
The
prelims.
Fight Pass prelims. Okay.
There we go. We'll just call it Fight Pass prelims.
The last one before it gets on actual TV. Diego Sanchez, the great UFC vet,
The Nightmare.
versus Craig White,
The
aka
Thundercat. All right, so both of these guys are coming off some spectacular losses. I'm just going to say this.
Honestly, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I think everybody who watches the UFC as long as I have can tell you that Sanchez is great when he started. At this point, in my opinion, he needs to retire. But I'm not the one to tell a fighter to retire.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because his last couple losses, or should I say his last couple fights, rather, hadn't gone his way at all.
No, he's been
And
on a downward trend.
He has gotten some brutal knockouts.
All right, so like I said, both of these guys are coming off stunning losses. All right, so Sanchez's last
It was
loss was to Matt Brown.
It was horrible.
With one of the most lethal elbows I've ever seen.
This
man.
elbow out of nowhere
The elbow.
and hit him with his over. It is basically like an arcing elbow, right?
Yeah, it was
And
brutal. It was.
It just collapsed him. It was horrible. Before that, he lost from knockout, right? Like his last 3 fights was.
He's lost considerably.
It's getting to the point where I love watching Sanchez fight, especially when he first started because he had the fights with Gilbert Melendez.
Right.
And a couple other ones where you're like, because Sanchez is all game all the time. He's got one gear, which is go.
Which I don't think he should be giving.
He, in my opinion, he was like the original Gaethji. You know, he's just like, I'm fucking here. Let's do this. Sometimes you gotta know when to give it up. You know,
You really do. Yeah, I really can't say much about Diego, man. That's like when he started, he was on a tear. He was just eating everybody up, and then he got chinny.
Well,
man.
I mean, like
he got chinny.
You know, all credit to him. He's fought some of the greatest fighters in his division. He fought Jim Miller at one point. Josh Koscheck. He fought him. He fought BJ. Clay Guida. John Fitch, who was the PFL champ at one point. Nick Diaz. Kenny Florian. I mean, he's fought a ton of people. He's had a great career. Recently,
He fought Al Iaquinta.
fought him, and you know he got KO'd. Matt Brown KO'd him. You know he has this great fighting record with people he's fought. It's just at this point, you're like,
He's got a very impressive resume of who he's fought, but man, he's been laid out so many times now. It's like
well, it's the way he fights.
I don't want to watch him just die in the ring, man. I don't want to.
He just grits his mouthpiece and goes for it. You know.
Yeah, but at this point, if you're just barely getting hit and going down, you got to watch out. The other gentleman, Craig White, his opening fight in the UFC, he lost to Neil Magny, which I can't really blame him because Neil Magny is a really good fighter. He lost that. He took a brutal knee to the chin up against the fence, and then Neil Magny closed in and sealed the deal on him with the TKO after the flurry of punches. But both of these guys coming off really, really hard-fought losses. I mean, Diego's wasn't really that hard-fought. That was just a single elbow drop and done. But Craig was in it to win it until he got kneed. So I think that came from a lack of experience in the ring.
That's
or
possible,
in the octagon, I should say. But I look forward to seeing him probably lay out Diego, unfortunately. Getting a win to get himself on track.
You know, as much as I like Diego, I wouldn't put money on it for him to, just because you never know with him.
I do see this as a more adequate test, though, of Craig coming into the UFC, fighting a fighter that's on his way out the door, hopefully.
You gotta put the hopefully on the end. Like,
Yeah, you don't want to see legends not be legends anymore.
then we go to the prelims.
All right, so there's only going to be 4 fights.
Okay.
4 fights on the prelims before we get to the pay-per-view. So the first fight, the prelims, is going to be Charles Kid Dynamite Bird, who is the Dallas fighter, versus Darren the Dentist Stewart. Charles is coming into this fight with a 4-fight win streak, 1 by TKO, 1 by technical submission, where his opponent did not tap and was unconscious, and 2 by submission. So 2 of his 3 fights in UFC have been through the Contender Series, and all wins have been by submission. And Darren is coming off his first win in the UFC out of his 4 total fights. So out of 4 fights in the UFC, this is his first win that he's coming into a fight with. I know I've seen Charles fight. It was on the Werdum versus Volkov card in March, but I can't remember what my reaction was to his fight whenever I was watching it. So I can't really give you any, personal thoughts on it. I do know that watching a submission happen, usually my general reaction was like, oh, that was neat. Both of these guys have a positive record overall. But Charles hasn't lost in 4 fights, and he fights out of Dallas. I think he'll probably get the win at home. But I'm not going to count Darren out. See, all of his non-decision wins have been due to TKO mostly. So with 1 being an actual KO, including the win prior to this fight. I do think this is a classic grappler versus striker battle. Second fight on the card belongs to Jimmy El Terror Rivera versus John the Magician Dotson, who I always like watching fight because he's so quick.
John's got power regardless of what weight class he's in. He's the only person I've seen hit Demetrius Johnson so hard he flew him back about 4 feet.
Yeah.
You ever watch that one?
Yes, I've seen both those fights. The first one was really close. The second one.
Jimmy Rivera, he's pretty good. He's a notable name. They're both pretty notable. Jimmy's sitting at 5 and John's sitting at 7 on the ranking charts.
Oh yeah, their rankings officially.
Yeah.
Jimmy Rivera's at 5. John Dodson.
This is at flyweight, right? Or was this
Panam. He's at 135, so that's bantam. Jimmy's coming into this fight off a devastating KO loss to the impressive Marlon Moraes, who I've mentioned a few times now.
Yeah, you seem to have a thing for him.
He's fun to watch. The dude just knocked out 2 people.
I'm pretty sure he knocked out more than that, but
from what I've seen, like
in recent memory, it's been 2 people that we know of.
John,
we don't know. He could be at his gym just knocking people out for the hell of it.
John, however, is coming in this fight with a win over Pedro Munoz, who we just saw beat the brakes off of Brett Johns in the last pay-per-view. It was a good fight.
That was a great fight. Shout out to Brett Johns for actually liking the tweet.
Downside, both of these guys have lost to Marlon Moraes recently, actually. My thing right now with Dodson, I don't think he's quite found his groove in the new weight class since he's moved up.
Yeah, I think he's still trying to find exactly what it is, because he doesn't have as much power as he did flyweight. He definitely is. He was a bantamweight when he first got in there, and he took a hell of a weight cut to get down to flyweight.
Yeah.
But I think he's found sort of the spot he's supposed to be in.
I think he's found his weight class. I just don't think he's found the groove in the weight class.
But
he's still trying to readjust.
Bantamweight's one hell of a competition at that weight, because you got Dillashaw, you got Garbrandt, you got
Cruz,
Jimmy Cruz. You got a ton of people that are in there.
Aljamain Sterling, Pedro Munez,
and you also have people constantly added to it. They seem to be getting a lot of the smaller people in the UFC now, so that class is always moving up and down with the talent. So I think it's just going to take time, and you'll see Johnson. He'll probably move up a little bit more. I don't know if he'll be able to get past Dillashaw.
I don't think many people are going to be able to get past. I don't even think many people are going to be able to get past Rafael Sunsao, to be honest.
Well, yeah, John Dodson gave TJ Dillashaw his first loss.
Both of these guys have a large amount of decision wins, just decisions in general. So I don't really see this fight going to a finish. That's not a decision. But if it does, it's probably going to come from John, because John hits a hell of a lot harder than Jimmy.
Yeah.
He seems to have got a little bit more torque.
He's got the power, and he's got really impressive precision. With
that I will agree with.
I don't think Johnson could beat him now, because TJ's completely
They're both
different.
evolved as fighters and gotten older.
All
right. Third fight on the prelims. We're gonna get to see Aljamain Funk Master Sterling versus Cody Spartan Stamen.
It's a great name, by the way. Like Funk Master.
I know, right?
I like Sterling. He's interesting to watch.
Yeah, he's a good fighter in my opinion.
He's a lanky dude. I like the way he throws jabs.
Cody right now, he's riding a 10-win streak.
No, didn't he just lost to Dillashaw?
Not that Cody. That's Cody Garbrandt. Cody Stamen here, the guy that's fighting Aljamain Sterling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's riding a 10-win streak. 3 of them came from his UFC career.
Well, he's 17-1, right?
And Aljamain is coming off a decision win over Brett Johns, who we just saw get the brakes beaten off. I hate to say that twice in a row, but Brett Johns did a good job, man.
Yeah, he
dude's
made a lot of
heart.
fans out of that one.
All heart.
Cody's sitting at 17-1, right? Right. He's not lost in the UFC.
Nope, not yet.
Not yet.
We don't know what's going to happen come Saturday.
Yeah, you can't do the math.
I don't really think fatigue is going to be an issue with these guys. These guys have both shown up to every one of their fights, physically fit, ready to go, and they both have a decision wins. So they've gone the distance every single fight. So I don't think 15 minutes is going to be the deciding factor in this one. I think it's just going to come down to either somebody getting a TKO or submission. If this is going to be a close fight, it's going to be one to watch.
Maybe. I think this one's going to be mostly a stand-up fight between the two, to tell you the truth. I don't think this is going to go to the ground much.
Aljamain does have wins from submissions, and Cody has a few of his coming from TKO, so this could be another grappler versus striker competition again we're going to look at.
I think this is mostly going to be stand-up. This seems like an exciting fight to watch.
I think so, too. I think this is... going by the numbers, I think it's going to be one of the better fights to watch. And I really think if the fight stays standing, I'm going to give an edge to Cody, because he seems to have a lot more ability in the stand-up game. And I think if there's going to be any ground game involved or clinch work, I think I'm going to give it to Aljamain. Well, no, I'm sorry. I think it will go the distance. If there's any ground game or clinch work, I'm going to give it to Aljamain, because I think he's going to outpoint him. Unless Cody just goes in there and just throws a hellacious amount of punches.
It's going to be fun to watch between the two of them. It's
that I will
definitely
give you.
One that you should definitely watch.
The main and final fight on the prelims belongs to Tatiana Suarez versus former UFC strawweight champ and the first UFC strawweight champ, the first Invicta FC strawweight champ, Carla Cookie Monster Esparza.
It's going to be interesting to see how this comes off. Between the two of them. Carla, I think, what was her last fight?
She lost. It was a decision loss. Carla is coming off a decision loss from Claudia Gadelha, which, I don't know, that was kind of a toss-up. I do remember watching that fight. That was a toss-up. I don't think Claudia really secured that victory, in my opinion. That's opinion.
The weird thing I've noticed as of late is a lot of the women's fights, especially with the group of women that were in that Ultimate Fighter class, come down to a lot of decisions as of late. But
I think the level of talent's going up.
Definitely, I think that's what it is. I think that class is they're getting people in now that aren't just like, oh, I'm gonna go try. That's why you get people like Rose. That's why you get people like Cynthia Calvillo. Is her name?
Yeah.
So you get people like that who are like, I want to do this, not just because I think I'm good at it, but because I am good at it.
Right.
And the level of talent in that division is getting a lot better.
I think women's talent in general is getting better. So
yeah,
across the board.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know anything about the number 9 lady. So
Tatiana is coming in with 7-0 undefeated record, and 3 of those while she's been in the UFC, and one of them, so technically 4 if you count the Ultimate Fighter. Her last win was over Alexa Grasso back in May via rear naked choke in the first, which was, I'm not gonna lie, it was a really good choke. I'll give Alexa a lot of points because she was trying so hard to get out of that, and she was swinging back trying to loosen her face up a little bit, but it just was not happening.
Yeah, when she got her in that choke, there was no getting out of it.
Yeah, she looked really good in that. She got that first round win very quick. I believe this will be a good fight for her, Tatiana going up against Carla, because Carla at this point is a vet.
Yeah, I've always liked watching Carla fight. It's always like, it's a hit or miss most of the time when you're like, oh, right. It's being exciting, but it's fun to watch somebody with her talent.
Well, that and
up against anybody.
I think this is a good test for Tatiana because Carla does have a win over Rose, and Rose is the current champ. If she can beat Carla, not only does she beat a former champ, but she beats somebody who has a win over a champ. So that kind of lets you know what caliber fighter Tatiana will be fighting at, what caliber fighter that she is. She's only had 2 of her fights go to decision out of 6 or out of 7. So I think if Carla keeps the pace on her, pushes her into the last rounds of the fight, then we may actually get to see Tatiana lose because Tatiana really hasn't been pushed that hard to the end. So we're going to get into the main card on the pay-per-view. It's got 5 fights coming in. 4 of them I'm looking forward to. 1 of them I'm not really all that interested in. I feel like this is the fight you're going to use the bathroom in. Go get everything settled before the actual good fights start. But that's nothing against the fighters. I just don't remember watching these 2 guys fight. But the co-main event and the main event are both going to be title fights. One's going to be a first ever title defense, and the other ones should be the 4th title defense. We'll find out whenever that happens. First fight is the one I'm not too interested in at the moment. This fight will be Nico with a hybrid price versus Abdul Al-Hassan, who fights out of Fort Worth, ironically, even though his native country is Ghana. Nico's coming into this fight on a 2-fight winning streak, and Abdul as well comes in with 2-fight winning streak. So I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about these fighters personally. I don't remember seeing them fight. I do remember seeing Nico fight, but I don't remember exactly what happened in it. I think it was, again, one of those fights I probably just lost interest in and was doing something else until the next one. But it's not really on his fault. You're only as good as your last fight.
Yeah.
If you didn't make an impression on me, I'm not going to sit here and watch you the whole time like I would if it was DJ fighting or TJ fighting or DC fighting.
Everyone with the 2 letters.
Yeah, just because they're easy to say, just right off the top of my head. Or Stipe, I like watching Stipe fight.
Well, Nico, he's got a 12-1 record as of right now. It's kind of all over the thing, but I think the interesting part is Al-Hassan.
Al-Hassan, yeah.
His record is 9-1, and I find it fascinating that he has 100% KO.
You're going off the official?
Yeah, according to the UFC stats. I'm pretty sure that means in the UFC, right? All his finishes are KO. Is that what it is?
Oh my goodness.
See, KO. Yeah, he's got. Yeah.
Okay.
His only loss is by decision. The rest are all by KO.
Well,
I think it's funny because he TKO'd one dude and then he fought him again and KO'd him. Like, you finished the job.
all right, so Abdul has almost a perfect finish record. This is insane. This guy has only lost one time by decision. Every fight he's been in, he has won via knockout in the first round or TKO in the first round.
That's pretty amazing. To
Every single one of his knockouts or TKOs, which is almost every fight, except for the one decision loss by split decision too, has been a first round. He has never been out of the first round when he's won.
Yeah. So that's what we get to know. If he gets out of the first round, there's a chance he's going to lose.
There's a chance he's going to lose because if it goes to decision, which I'm probably going to see if I can find this fight and watch it just to see why he lost that fight. It's a split decision loss. So there was something that happened in that fight.
That last day, how do you say that?
Akhmedov,
that Dov.
Yeah.
Immediately go, that's a Russian dude. What part of Russia is really big in the UFC?
We'll say that's a Eastern Bloc guy. That's an Eastern Bloc.
We saw like the Nurmagomedov, all the Dovs are really good at wrestling, so I imagine he just wrestled the hell out of him.
I think Abdul has with a 9-1 record, all by TKO. If Nico don't watch his chin, he's probably going to get his head taken off.
This guy is the perfect reason for you guys to be like, I should probably check out Extreme KO on September 29th. Because if this guy is the caliber that's coming out of it, then you're like, I should probably definitely check it out, especially if you want to watch a knockout. I mean, it's in the name.
Yeah, Extreme Knockout.
Yeah,
XKO.
Like this guy fits the description of the promotion.
Yeah, I really look forward to seeing this fight, to see how this is going to go. 9-1 with...
See, that
8
record,
knockouts.
That record alone changed your opinion on the fight.
It really did. Thank you, Sherdog. Second fight on the main card is we're going to finally get into some big names on the main card. Going to see Carolina, I'm not going to say her last name because I'm not going to butcher this, versus Jessica Andrade. Both of these ladies have challenged Joanna for the belt at some point in their career, although Joanna no longer has the belt. They have both challenged her at one time. And both, I wouldn't even say both. I think Carolina was the only one who really gave Joanna a tough time. Jessica just kind of sat there and ate all the shots and had no answers. I remember that.
Yeah, pretty much.
I remember that very well. Exactly. Carolina, however, she took everything Joanna had and just kept walking forward like, your shots aren't that hard.
Carolina was the first person that cracked Joanna's chin.
I don't think she cracked her chin. I think what she did was, I think she cracked Joanna's spirit.
That too.
Because
you can probably hear chatter if you listen to it closely. She was really the first person to hit her, and you can see Joanna be like, "Oh, hold on, like this is something completely different."
Because Joanna threw everything she had in volume, and Carolina was like, "You have no power.
Yeah,
you're not even hitting me that hard, girl."
Well, like here's the weird part. I know they fought previous to that in Muay Thai, right? And the big deal going into that fight was Carolina was the last champ in that division after Joanna left. And Joanna wanted to fight her in MMA to prove that she was like the Polish champion there.
Oh,
it was a whole like Polish pride
type
fight.
Okay, yeah.
That's what it was. And that's the reason why they brought her over to the UFC, because Joanna was like, I want her over here. Which was a good move. This woman is pretty badass.
Carolina's probably going to be a lady I watch from now on.
Oh, yeah.
To tell you the truth.
100%.
Her fight against Joanna was it was so fun to watch. She just kept walking forward, man. I can't say it enough. She just kept eating all those shots like, lady, you ain't got that much. Like, you're hitting me with everything and you're not cracking nothing.
It's going to be interesting to watch. Carolina's always fun to watch. Andrade is getting better every time she steps in the octagon.
I do like watching both of them fight. Even though Jessica had no answers for Joanna, she's still rather impressive to watch fight. The thing about Jessica, though, is she's always ready to stand in the middle and just throw the bombs. She has a lot of power. That girl is very short and very stocky, and she has the power to knock you out, but I think her real strength is her submission capabilities. She has a really strong ground game compared to Carolina. I think if Jessica wants to win, I think she needs to utilize her ground game against Carolina, because I think that's where she's going to capitalize. Carolina, though, is really good about utilizing the range.
Yeah, that's
She's
kind of
really,
a thing.
Yeah, she's really good about utilizing her range and staying at range so you can't utilize your ground game. So it's really going to be a good fight against these two. I think this is going to be where a lot of the action for the night really picks up going into the last fights.
Definitely, unless Alisson takes off Price's head. But the next fight on the card is Zabit, I'm not saying his last name, Pav, versus Brandon Killer Bee Davis.
I'm interested in this fight because both of these guys are new rising stars in the UFC. While Brandon Davis has lost while he's been in the UFC, both the fights or 3 fights now that he's had in the UFC that I've seen, the guy comes in there and he's game from the moment they start to the moment and he's been finished, but they were good fights. They were such good fights to watch. I remember his last one. I thought it was crazy because I remembered it while I was watching the last one, that the fight previous to that, like, he's got a smile on his face when his opponent's hitting him, Brandon Davis. So he's willing to take his shots. And Zabit right now, he's only lost once in his professional career. From what I've seen, he has got a really, really high fight IQ. Really high fight IQ. Like, he's coming in with he reminds me of John Jones a little bit. Just he's unpredictable. When he sees an opening for, some random kick, he does it. Or these odd angles for his strikes to come in. It's really impressive to watch. The only time I think Zabit has really shown any type of weakness, I will say, it was his last fight in which he still won, like, hands down, against Kyle Bochniak. Kyle was rather impressive to watch because no matter what Zabit threw at him, he just kept walking forward. Like, he took every shot. He was yelling at him the whole time, like, come on. And Zabit was just hitting him and backing away. And
that's how Kyle fights.
Yeah, but, like, that was the first time I've seen Zabit, like, backing up, like, okay, what do I got to do to this guy? What? But he stayed composed. Don't get me wrong. He stayed composed, but Kyle was the only person I've seen put him in a position where he's actually had to use a lot of skills to try to keep this guy at range and utilize what he does, which was very impressive on both their parts.
Yeah, Zabit's a very impressive fighter, to say the least.
Really
Every
is.
fight that I've seen him in, he always seems to put something out that I haven't seen before. And he's a guy that definitely going to watch coming up. He's a guy that there's a reason he only has this few fights and he's in the top 15. That's not one of the bull statistics that like the UFC tends to put out with, like, oh, this guy hadn't fought in 2 years, he's number 1.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Hint 229, which I'm pretty sure that's going to be a topic of conversation.
Yep. Well, he's in the damn intro.
I know.
We'll talk about it. But Brandon Davis, he's no slouch either. He stepped in for Yair Rodriguez. Yair. He stepped in for Rodriguez. And, originally when they announced Zabit versus Rodriguez, I was pumped for that. It's a little bit of a letdown that Rodriguez isn't fighting. I'm not sure exactly why, but either way, it's always fun to see Zabit fight, and Davis, he's pretty interesting to watch too. Plus, he's got a tattoo of a Celtic knot through his bot, like almost his whole leg, which is pretty impressive. That you're gonna sit down and have that happen to you.
That thing looks nasty too. Nasty and good.
Like, you imagine like sitting there and having to go through all that. Yeah, that's pain.
Not sure if Brandon has what it takes to overcome the pressure of Zabit, but I do know he has the toughness, much like Kyle Bochniak, who's beat, and Brandon has lost to Kyle. They both have that similar style where they push forward. Brandon looks to be a lot more tactical and technical with his approach. He does pick his shots a little bit more careful than Kyle does. I think if he gets in close enough, he could put Zabit on the outside. Man, it's going to be really hard for him to get in on Zabit, I think.
Yeah.
Inside that pocket is dangerous for every fighter.
Yeah, like you're walking into a trap. Like the chances of you not getting hurt is very low when you fight Zabit. He's not known for like knocking people out. He's did it before. He's gonna make you really tired and he's gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
that's kind of his game plan.
Brandon has a history of going to decision, and Zabit has a history of closing. So it's going to be interesting to see if Brandon can put a pace on Zabit that pushes him into the winning column in a decision, because I don't think Brandon will be able to crack him hard enough to put him down. Honestly, I haven't seen Zabit take a shot that's really stunned him or staggered him yet. So, I mean, we'd have to see what opponent could actually do that to him and exactly where that shot would have to land to see who can do it in the future. But I think Zabit walks out with a TKO just because Brandon has a habit of pushing forward even when he's in trouble and walking into it. And I think if Zabit just stays at range, he's just going to piece him up. He's going to get a TKO because that's what happened to him before. All right, so there was supposed to be a fight right here for another title between Nico Montana and Valentina Shevchenko. But unfortunately, whenever I was editing this, I got the update that Nico had to be taken to the hospital due to complications. I'm assuming it's from her weight cut. There's not a lot of details right now, so the fight that should have been happening won't be happening here, and there is no step-in or replacement. If there's anything else right before I post this video, I'll add it in. If not, it is what it is. So the main fight, the last and final fight of the night. Tyron, the chosen one, Woodley, defending his belt against Darren, the Gorilla Till.
Woodley's new nickname is also known as the Boring Champ.
The Boring Champ. Tyquill, as Colby calls him.
Yeah, Tyquill. That's the one thing I would
I'm excited to see this fight, and I'm kind of upset that the Colby fight's not happening here, but, you know, it is what it is. It's a fight game. Colby had to go have some surgery, so. Woodley's coming off a very, very impressive fight record, man, to be honest with you. Like, his last few have been kind of, I'm not going to say kind of boring. They've been really fucking boring.
Here's the interesting part.
Before that, though.
Here's the interesting part with Woodley, right? See, let's go from the Josh Koscheck fight, is where he's, in my opinion, started to get his feet underneath him, right? Okay. So he goes from Josh Koscheck to Carlo Condit, right? That's a good step up between the two, you know, right. Both title challengers. Then he fights, in my opinion, the best welterweight in the world, Roy McDonald. Yeah, which I would love to see a rematch of them right now. He loses, at this stage of their careers. He loses, right? So it's like, oh man, this sucks. Then he fights Don Kim. And, you know, that's a little bit of a win. He gets a little momentum. Fights Kevin Gastelum, gets a momentum. They're like, you're the new title challenger. He fights Robbie Lawler. Beats the hell out of Robbie Lawler. Oh. Like, that was a very impressive win. That right that came just out of nowhere, packed with dynamite. Boom! Robbie's done. Now he's the champ, right? Then he gets to this Stephen Thompson fight, the first one, right? Which goes to a draw. And it kind of slows his momentum down. For most people, I don't think it slowed his momentum down. I think what that did was show that Tyron was a lot more calculating than we thought he was. I had only seen him fight Kelvin Gastelum and then win the title, so I didn't know much about it. I had to actually go back and watch his previous fights, which I didn't understand why he was a champ, because the way Rory beat him pretty good. He throughout that whole fight, Rory beat him up pretty bad. That's not saying anything against Tyron, just, you know. That's Rory McDonald. Rory McDonald is one of the best, if not greatest, in that weight class to ever fight. He's got the fight of the century against Robbie Lawler. Yeah, like you can't beat that fight. The all-time one of the all-time greatest fights in MMA history. If you haven't seen it, look it up. But he fights Wonder Boy. It goes to a draw, which you can probably debate whether it should have been a draw or not. But they go on to the next fight, and honestly, this one I thought Wonder Boy won. That one was a fairly close one. I think that was the one where he had the little fury at the end. The Steven and Woodley fight too? The second fight? The second fight. Yeah. Where Steven was controlling the thing the entire time, and then Center Woodley, control should have counted and Woodley a lot more in his favor, but I don't think it did. Throws a couple punches at the end, wins the fight. And you're like, okay, obviously Wonder Boy's not getting a title shot anytime soon. Because it was a draw and a win, so... And then they go on to Damian Maia, who should not have had the title contention, in my opinion. But there was nobody else really in the weight class at the time.
I think he should have. He had proved himself before that. He was on like a 7-fight win streak. Damian was.
Yeah, but it wasn't a fight that Damian wanted or really needed there.
Right. I'll give you that.
But he beats Damian, and then now we're at Till. But before that, who was it supposed to be?
It was supposed to be Colby Covington.
And I think everybody could agree we all wanted to see Colby versus Woodley. If not to shut Colby up, if to get someone exciting like Colby in the title spot, you know. Mm-hmm. It was one of those things that it could have gone either way, but we got Woodley versus Till because Colby had surgery.
He had to have sinus surgery. Something about his sinus area. I don't know much
it's
about it.
It's gonna break again, man.
I don't even know if it was a break. I think it was like a bunch of buildup of tissue.
Either way.
He couldn't breathe very well. But that put him out of the fight. So
now we got Till versus Woodley. Till coming off a win of Wonder Boy. That was debatable whether he won that.
I don't think Till won that.
But before that, he fought Cerrone.
At least not unanimously.
So Till coming into this is undefeated. His last fight was against
17 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw.
So Till coming into this is undefeated. Before this, he fought a very controversial decision against Wonderboy Thompson, and before that was Cerrone. So
Darren Till fought Donald Cerrone. He beat the hell out of Cerrone. Oh, he turtled up at the end of the round, and that was it. He pieced him up really hard. I don't know though if Darren Till has what it takes to stop T Wood.
It depends on what T Wood shows up.
Yeah,
I think if you get the T Wood that showed up against Wonderboy, that's a little more calm and calculated and trying to find the spot, then Till's got a good chance of like, oh, maybe I'll pop one in there.
I'm going to say this. T Wood's last few fights, he's been slow and he's been methodical and he's been trying to find shots and make them count. I don't know if Till has what it takes to beat T Wood, because if he pushes forward too hard, and T Wood is a hellacious counterpuncher and he's always got that right primed, if Till steps in and he's not paying attention, that right hand's going to come out of nowhere. And I think we would see the first time Darren Till gets fucking laid out. T Wood, he generates so much power. It's undeniable how much power. He hit Damian Maia with one shot and closed his eye. With one shot, he closed his eye. And then he hit him on the other side and swelled that one, almost closing his Damian Maia fight. He couldn't finish because he tore his labrum, which I understand injuries happen, but and he had enough power to fight off one of the greatest grapplers there is in the division, if not MMA in general, in Damian Maia.
See, it's not only a question of whether one of these people can win the fight, it's a question of whether Till can make it to the fight.
Yeah,
his weight cut is a big deal. He missed weight a few times. His last fight with Wonderboy, he missed, but he kind of had a reason to. There was a problem with his girlfriend. She was pregnant at the time, and she had a medical emergency, so he had to take time off of his weight cut. It just so happened to be like the day before the fight was supposed to happen, so he couldn't make weight. But previous to that, he missed weight, I think, twice? Or was it once?
I think he's only missed twice total.
So previous to that, he missed it once, and I think it was by like 7 pounds.
Oh, he was way over.
Yeah, it was a pretty good chunk that he missed it by. So the question is, can he make weight? Darren Till said he's on track as of right now.
Kamaru Usman is on backup. T Wood keeps saying he wouldn't fight him anyways, which I, as a fan, was like, think just fight the guy. I mean, that's stupid, but I get where T Wood's coming from. Like, you take all this time, you make sure you're at the right weight, your opponent can't do it. Now you want time to train for the other guy. I mean, I get it. You're the champ, dude. Make the call, but step up and fight the guy. There's nothing wrong with that. I think T Wood would still be able to win against Kamaru Usman if the fight goes that far. He's willing to fight Till even if Till can't make weight. So at that point, I'd say, Till, come in there 5-6 pounds overweight, dude. Go up a weight class. So that's going to about wrap up the UFC 228 breakdown that we got going.
So in other news, we got the infamous Liddell Ortiz 3, something that was only talked about for a while there. And then apparently Liddell and Ortiz decided to come out of the old folks' home and talk to Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah, it's Golden Boy, right? Golden Boy Promotions.
Yep.
They're gonna fight November
Oh man,
November 24th.
I don't know if I want to see this fight.
But this is the interesting part about it. Like, I've honestly, if they fight again, I have full confidence that Ortiz is gonna get this one, just because at this point Liddell's chin is glass.
Yeah.
Between that, I think it's really interesting that De La Hoya is doing it.
Well, De La Hoya's been trying to get a piece of that MMA money for a while.
If he's putting on a promotion like that, is he going to get other fighters to do it? And if so, that's going to change the pay scale. Because the fighters are going to go, well, they're actually getting paid over there, so I'm going to go over there, opposed to going through the UFC.
Yeah, but UFC will always be the NFL of the sport.
I get that part, but it's still going to be like, well, if we're going to lose in talent over there, and they're actually paying them, and they're going to be able to probably do their sponsors and all that like boxers do, we're probably going to have to pay more on ours. So it brings up the whole, like, the payment for fighters and how they're getting paid and whether it's fair and all that. This whole Liddell and Ortiz thing, especially since it's Golden Boy, it brings up that discussion a little bit more, which I think is something that needs to be said for not only the casual fan, but just the promotions in general. Because as a fan, you want people to go out there and you want them to throw down and fight like Gaethji all the time, or, you know, put on this amazing show where the guy puts their body on the line. And, you know, we've seen what happens after a long time of doing that. You got a guy like Gary Goodrich, who's got CTE and he can barely do anything. And, you know, he was one of the pioneers of MMA. And if you're only going to do it for a small period of time, you're going to have to get paid for it, you know? Unless you're like Liddell or Ortiz, who had these massive careers because the UFC was like, here's our champ, and they pushed him, put him on everything. Like when Liddell was champ, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing like a tap-out shirt or having him on like Spike TV. I remember that. Like he was on almost every show they had on there.
I think I saw him on a bunch of 5-hour energy commercials.
Yeah, he was on a
other
bunch
weird,
of stuff.
crazy stuff.
And unless you're one of these champs that are like that, and say, you know, even right now, if you're a popular guy, they give you with the Monster sponsorship, and that's pretty much the only extra one they give you.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you got to go find your own thing, and even then, when you do, it's kind of like, oh yeah, you know, you can put that on social media, but you're not allowed to wear it to the ring. So definitely, I think this opens up a discussion to everybody. Which definitely, I see no problem with paying a fighter to fight. That's pretty much it for the news. 2 fight nights in between here and 229. 229 being the big Khabib McGregor card.
We can't talk about it, though, because we don't want to jinx it.
Yep.
The more you talk about it, the more these guys are likely to pull out.
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about the fight nights. The next fight night coming up is the Mark Hunt versus
Aleksei Olenek.
And then we got another fight night. Which that's the Thor dude, right?
Thor dude, yeah.
It's the Thor dude
stepping
versus...
up on short notice versus Jimmy Manawa.
Who was it supposed to fight and then pulled out?
Glover Teixeira.
Yeah, okay. So Jimmy Manuel was supposed to fight Glover. He pulled out because he's a bitch. No,
he pulled out due to injury.
Sorry.
You know those Brazilian guys. They go hard or go home, even in the gym. We got 2 fight nights coming up, and then we'll head into the UFC 229 next month, early next month. It's going to be one of the biggest.
That's in October, right?
If not the biggest card
That's
ever.
the beginning of October.
Yes.
That's in October, but no one cares about October quite
It's
yet.
the biggest fight of the century, probably MMA history, dude.
Nope. There's one that's going to be even better.
There's going to be a better fight.
There's going to be a
than
better fight.
The biggest fight in UFC history at this moment.
Yep.
Please, tell me which fight that's going to be.
Happens in September, the end of September. You know what happens on September 29th? I will tell you what happens on September 29th.
Please, tell me what happens on September 29th.
The 29th of September is Extreme Knockout 43. You know what that is? I'm sure you do, because I've probably told you about it several times on this podcast.
I'm guessing that's the local promotion.
That is the local
secured
promotion.
tickets to.
That is. They're the local DFW promotion. They're doing a second annual all-female undercard. They have 2 championship fights on the main card. It's going to be pretty spectacular. If you guys never watched Extreme Knockout, check out the highlights at Extreme Knockout or xko.tv. ExtremeKnockout.com will take you there. One of the links that's on there. So If you guys don't know about it, definitely check it out. They're at Gas Monkey Live on the 29th. Tickets are already on sale. If you do go to their store, you do get really cool packages. You know, you got the VIPs, you got the general admission tickets. You can either, if you have a business, you could buy vendor tables in case you're like, I want to promote my business there. And you get to buy a backpack there. That's pretty cool in case you're like, I really want to show off my extreme Knockout 43 spirit by buying a backpack. So definitely, guys, definitely check it out. Buy your tickets now. September 29th at Gas Monkey Live.
And I think that about covers it. So hopefully we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. Check us out on Twitter at HookedJP. Yeah, well, check us out on Twitter. We're very active on it. If you want to follow, tell your friends about it too. That would help us out.
Links below.
We're not promoting you to grab them and strap them into a chair and force them to watch it, but I'm saying that might help.
Hopefully we'll see you guys next time. Links below for XKO TV, and our Twitter page. So follow us, like, add, subscribe, hit that bell, do all that good stuff. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Hook J Podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next episode.
Sometimes you've got to do what's right for you and not do what's right for everybody else.